So I had some.
Hey, good.
And the person I was thinking of.
My wife, Sheree.
There you go. There's like a map over there. So I told John and David that I would email him, so I emailed him and I'm going to sit down and try to talk to him this weekend. John said he thinks that he just he's a really nice guy. Does a great job with that. But it's a growing process. I mean, when I first started, I was not this outspoken.
I still think.
There's a lot of outspoken people out there.
What's that?
There's a lot of outspoken people.
In Chestnut? Oh my gosh.
When we do the restaurant.
Oh, yeah. But you know what Jim said the other day? He said, I wonder if all those people that I said they never been able to show up because they just gone.
It's freezing in here now. It's so hot.
And it's like people that sell the others more and more they just like learning. So it was
So yeah, let us know how.
Alan Tyler. Just really, you know, because I'm using that as I know someone. Did you hear? So, I mean, I think that's maybe the two one here. Because I know she has talked to someone. And she's really interested in this stuff. I know her from being in Parker Rec. So yes, she's very nice. And she's thinks, you know, for herself. So I think that was a good fit. John's comment Saturday, I think. Saturday, Friday, before we left, he said, he goes, well, on the council would certainly lower the minimum age of the council. What do you say? What? I would say he's probably comparable to John's age.
Yeah.
40-ish, would you say?
Yep, he's originally Australian.
Yes. He's just a really nice person.
He is. I just think, before you leave, and I'm happy to help, if we can get and kind of work with planning board and empower them.
Yes, we will you and I will definitely do that.
Hard time finding out.
Okay.
We'll have to wrap that thing into it.
That's our problem. Okay, that's the place. And as you can see, they've moved the buildings away from the factory. So we will. That's going to be green. Like a wall. There's a building over there that is only to one cul-de-sac. And then all along here, this will be the green house. And then it meanders up through here. And then it goes behind the house a bit, and then it meanders up. So it doesn't go straight across, just a little.
Conversation back and forth with them
And
to help them see
this is a building.
what about traffic.
This is a building. But we will have this behind here, and then it will build the berm and trees.
So those questions do get asked at a planning board level. And I mean, I know a lot of that's going to be taken care of because of the requirements, but still making it so that they are a little more conversational and asking.
Hey, how are you? How you doing, man?
It's pretty
Doing well.
Timid or shy or afraid to. So we thought so too. Because that was, you know, it was
And this is going to be, this is the street coming in behind, it used to be a drugstore. And there will be no street. They may eventually.
Yeah, so.
How you been, man?
Exactly, so we were looking in Johnson County.
Look, I'm super cool kids. Right? You're told it.
This will
Well,
be,
I thought we would do it together, because I'm thinking he will
so it
first.
comes down, line up, see, and then,
All right, what are you looking at?
off into the, but this is gonna be green. And this will be the berm trees. So, directly behind this, that's a building.
I said, we're doing more Northern Aria like that.
Yeah, it's like a piece of toast. So, it's a building, that's a building. And all the park, yeah, so there's no parking.
Hey guys, I was at the trade show, the home and garden thing downtown, or Bojangles Arena, and two of our businesses on all the printed material that says Stallings. So we're making progress. But Keith brings in, Keith nursery, and they saw them, and they, all my sons, they say,
Well, I had them, I'm supposed to talk some Moser to HR later next week.
You were?
Yeah, and that's one thing I want to make sure that we're not
After all this awesome development, where people are wanting to start.
Aaron, you ready?
Sir, whenever you are.
All right. I'll call the meeting to order. All right, thank y'all for being here tonight. And so we have an invocation by Ms. Romanow, and then if y'all join us for that in the place, we'll get started.
Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for the beautiful day that you've given to us. Thank you for the sunshine that finally has appeared and decided to stay for us to enjoy. Thank you for the privilege that we have to serve our community by being on this board. Please give us wisdom as we make decisions that will impact the future of our town. Please protect our men and women that serve us in our police department, fire and emergency, and in our military. Lord, keep them safe from all danger. Thank you again for your blessings today and for the privilege to serve. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, first up is public comments, and so y'all are the only public here, so any comments? Thank y'all for being here tonight.
Shirley.
Agenda approval. So we need to add Ms. Icy's resignation letter, so let's make that 9. And just keep moving down adjournment. So, Mr. Martin, go ahead.
Yeah, I'd also like to add an additional item, and I'm not sure where it would best go, but I'd like to ask the council and get the council's thoughts on having the town manager and staff do some additional research on expanding our current tree save requirements in UDO, or how we can best approach the public's desire to save some of these legacy trees in future development.
All right, let's make that 10.
Can I add another very brief item?
Oh, sure.
I want to have a brief discussion about irrigation for the entrance to Stallings Road.
All right, make that 11.
David, ask that we reorder that, put the closed session at the very last, so right above adjournment. So we have those 3 items that were just added before the closed session.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense, yeah. Let's move the closed session down to 12 then. And then make that 12. And then, was there another one? No, I was going to discuss that during the council priorities. This is one of the priorities. All right, well, let's do, instead of making 9, 10, 11, 12, let's make it 8, 9, 10, 11. So accept Kathy's resignation will be 8. Research the tree save ordinance, make that 9. Irrigation is 10, and then closed session will be 12. All right, any other changes? I also like to take number 7, the deputy town clerk oath of office, and move that to 1A. So Kim doesn't have to stay here 2 hours.
This time.
This time, that's right. Unless you didn't have anything to do, about that.
Mayor, if I may, a couple things. If we could add an additional closed session for personnel matter, and also at the same time, it'd be great if we could finalize a date for a groundbreaking ceremony for next week as well.
All right, so what's the section on personnel?
It would be the same, except the last digit would be 6.
6.
So maybe 5
All right,
would be 6.
we'll keep it in 12, both going to closed sessions, both of those numbers there. And then, while we're in closed session, we'll discuss the, well, let's just make it 13. The date for, groundbreaking, yeah, thank you. And so move adjournment to 14.
That's good, because you don't want to have just 13 minutes.
All right, any other changes? Everybody okay with that? Town clerk, okay, all right. Can I get a motion, please?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion that we approve the agenda with the following changes, moving 7 to be 1A, the oath of office. 8 now becomes the vote on approving Kathy Heisey's resignation. 9 being the tree save discussion. 10 being the discussion about the irrigation at the entrance of Stallings on 74. 11 and 12 being 2 closed sessions related to personnel issues. 13 being a date for the, what am I saying?
Groundbreaking.
Groundbreaking, thank you. And 14 then being our adjournment.
If I may, one change to item 8.
Okay?
I would add 8A, discuss process to replace open council seat and possible action.
Do you need me to add that or sufficient?
That's sufficient. Go ahead and have a second.
Good with that?
I'll second.
All right, hold on. Thank you. All right, we have a motion and a second on all the changes. Any other discussion? Can I get a vote? All in favor? And that's unanimous. All right, thank you. All right, first up is the Greenway, no, 1A, excuse me. So what do we need to do?
Ms. Jones will just come up here and I will swear her in. So if you'll please raise your right hand and place your left hand on the Bible and repeat after me. I state your name,
Kimberly Jones,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and maintain
that I will support and maintain
the Constitution and laws
the Constitution and laws
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution and laws
and the Constitution and laws
of North Carolina,
of North Carolina,
not inconsistent therewith,
not inconsistent therewith,
and that I will faithfully
and that I will faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
of my office
as
Deputy Town Clerk
Deputy Town Clerk
for the Town of
for
Stallings.
the Town of Stallings.
So help me God.
So help me God.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kim.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next up is the Greenway plan. So then,
As you all are aware, we have been working on the creation of a Greenway plan for about a year and a half now. We came to you all, it's been probably 2 years, year and a half ago, with an idea to create a townwide Greenway system. We did this as a result of comments we got through our comprehensive land use planning process, Connectivity was one of the big items in that document, and the Greenway Plan seemed to be a really good solution, and there was a lot of support for that on that committee as well. So Eric Woolridge with Destination by Design has been creating that plan with us. The process, we had a steering committee that we've worked with very closely. We had several open houses. We solicited feedback from our residents through surveys, again through those open houses. And I feel like that the plan we have really reflects the information and the feedback we got from our steering committee members and from our town. We were looking to create a Greenway plan that would provide that connectivity. And in the process, what happened is we realized that we had a really awesome opportunity to add Parks and Rec to that plan as well. So we have a Greenway and Parks and Recreation master plan. And at first I wasn't really sure how that was going to work. But after we got into it and really saw Eric's vision for the plan, I realized that it was a really unique opportunity because most towns don't get the chance to create their greenways and their parks at one time. So we have a greenway system that connects to parks all over our town. Hopefully that will happen. We have a plan that shows that. What typically happens is people are either building a park and retrofitting it to the greenway or vice versa. But we really had a clean slate. And so I feel like the product that Eric created for us is really unique. It's really quality, and I'm really excited about it. I think I told Mr. Martin tonight of all the plans we've done, I think this is my favorite one. We've done a lot of plans in the last 3 years, but I'm just really proud of it, and I hope that you all will be too. This is our second meeting talking about this. Eric's already presented the plan. It's very similar. I think we made a couple of small changes. We moved the action plan into the appendice so that we can make changes to that. Ms. Paxton, you pointed out, I think you were making the point that those numbers are today's numbers. We know that those will change, and we wanted the ability to work with that and be able to reflect current numbers and current goals of the council. So that's one of the changes we did make. But what we're looking for tonight is for adoption of the plan. This is just a policy, so there's no public hearing that had to be held. But we are seeking your approval of this plan so that we can move forward with it. Again, with that action plan, we see that as a document that we will probably work through with you guys on a yearly basis as we're trying to make budget decisions. That's the request this evening. If you have any further questions about the document, myself or Ashley Platt with our Parks and Rec Director, or Eric here with Destination by Design, will be happy to answer anything you might have.
All right, thank you, Dan. Let the record show to the people that are watching in the minutes that we had a meeting at 6 p.m. prior to the council meeting to discuss in more detail the Greenway plan. So just let the record show that. Any more questions for Eric or Lynn or Ashley? What's the pleasure of the board?
I'll make a motion that we approve the Recreation and Greenway Master Plan as presented.
All right, we've got a motion by Ms. Romanow, second by Mr. Martin. Any further discussion? I'll just go on the record as citizens, as you read the Greenway Plan, because I assume we're going to put it on our website, and I'll put the asterisk out there that, as Mrs. Paxton pointed out, it's over $50 million, and we don't plan on spending $50 million next year to develop these parks, but it's a roadmap, as the council says, so we'll use it as a blueprint to get to where we want to go and listen to the citizens. So with that said, we have a motion on the floor in favor of the Greenway Plan. So all in favor, please raise your hand. That would be for, all opposed. Ms. Paxton opposed. Motion passes 4-1. Thank y'all, Dan, Eric, Ashley. All righty, next up is the committee and board member appointment policy amendment number 3. Yeah, there it is. So David, I'll turn this over to you since you wanted it you had some discussion you want to have on it.
I do. Google Drive is acting up, and I don't have my copy in front of me. I have looked at yours, but you can't. I'm trying to get mine up. It won't go up yet. So.
He's on there sometimes.
Okay, it looks to me, as I recall, we had three options. Okay, three options out there for us to discuss and approve. The original plan that I was not in favor of was for the actual committees to vote yea or nay on a potential committee member. I don't think that's the right thing to do. It appears that we've decided on option 2. I misread that. Is that true? We're on number 2. We've already concurred 2 is the one. That all we're going to do is require them to attend a committee meeting, and then town council will make a decision at that point.
It says here the majority of town council indicated they preferred option 2. When was that?
Yeah, kind of.
Last time we discussed it, we did, I mean, we did.
Kind of missed that, so
It's okay.
thank you. If that's the case,
You and
I
I
have.
discussed it
You're
earlier
busy
today.
ruling.
Yes, you were. You were busy being the, mayor pro tem, so
I wasn't.
it's okay. You were busy.
All right, so if the consensus is to move to number 2, so I'll read it into the record, require committee applicants to attend a committee meeting of the committee to which they have applied and introduced themselves prior to the town council consideration of that application. So what would we need to do? This is just a policy, so we don't need to have a public hearing, do we?
Wouldn't think so.
No, I don't think so. All right. Any discussion on that?
So, I'm okay with this. As I said, I misconstrued what I thought I read and thought we had to, the option 3 was the one we decided on. I was not in favor of that. 2's fine, so I'm fine.
All right, you make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we adopt the proposal as submitted by Alex, our town manager, for option number 2.
All right, we have a motion by Mr. Scholl, second by Ms. Romanow, to change the committee selection process to option number 2. Any other further discussion? All right, all in favor? All right, that's unanimous. All right, thank you. All right. So next up is the town second floor renovations. So Alex?
Great, thank you, sir. And I will mention, from here on out, you'll be seeing a consistent memo format. We're trying really hard to kind of just standardize a lot of our cards and memo formats and things like that, so we don't, continue to look professional. So I'll just mention that in passing. But this is kind of a follow-up from our meeting last month, or this month earlier. In evaluating the space needs for future construction plans, as part of kind of building this town hall package over here, the town council took the approach of they would basically renovate some of the space over here to reutilize it as the town grows. And in the town's CMIIP, which is what other folks typically call our CIP, our capital improvement plan, we identified doing those renovations in next fiscal year, having those completed then. In order to meet that deadline, we need to start programming and design work pretty much now. And so we talked about it at last meeting, and my understanding was that the council gave the support to kind of starting design, and so gave the manager permission to go and get a contract with an architectural firm, which is the firm we're using at New Town Hall, and bring it back to you all. So that's what's under consideration right now. Whether you want to use Boomerang for this, if you do approving the waiver resolution, and then authorizing the town manager to enter into the contract with Boomerang, and then also authorizing the town manager to basically proceed with the programming and working with an architect to design the facilities. We want to make sure that our staff has a lot of input, and you do as well once we get to a comfortable point with design. So just a follow-up item from last time. I hope I'm presenting you with the information that you would like, so that we can be happy to answer your questions or address any concerns.
Well, you used a word that I was going to ask, comfortable. Are y'all comfortable with the quality of work that Rick has done so far?
Yes, sir, we are.
He seems to be a very flexible guy.
He's really, I think, he's a good architect, but he's also good with working through public processes, all the pitfalls that come with that, and come out with a productive product. So, yes, sir.
And the second question, you know, Alex called me today, and I said $17,000 to redesign a small area. I thought that was a lot. Now, I'm not an architect, I'm not in that business, so I don't know if that's a good price or not. So I'll listen to my colleagues up there, council members, if they think that's a lot or not.
That's just for the design, not the construction.
Right.
And it's just this area here and the conference room behind it, right?
Right. But, you know, can you put that,
Yeah, absolutely.
put that, drawing on the board? There we go.
Is that price negotiable at all? Because that does sound to me like a lot of money for that.
Because I was asking Alex, you know, what did he envision the rest of the staff for that area to be? And a second conference room, because we use that one going a lot, some more office space, but it just seems like a lot to me. What was his contract to build town hall? The old two-for rule I always use. Works sometimes, if you don't ask, you don't get. But thoughts, the rest of the council? You know, from out of line, just tell me.
No, I agree, it's a little high. I don't know what he charges per hour, but I can't think there's gonna be
Well,
a ton of hours there.
what I told Alex, what I don't want to happen is knocking down walls where you drive up the construction costs. You know, let's work within our framework here as best we can, save as much money as we can. So.
Okay, let me just ask a question for Alex. Does this also include this drawing or his architectural work that he's going to do? Does it also include the thought process of incorporating a little better safety measures for our people up front, or just restricting? So that might be a reason why the cost might be a little more, or what we would think of as high, because something we talked about in public safety meeting tonight was that that because we are so open up there, it would create a safer entrance for our staff when people come in. They're not gonna, you know how we come in and we just reach over and unlock that, open that little half door and we walk in. It would make it so that people would have to be met. You know, they would come in, they would buzz in or whatever, and the receptionist would communicate with them, who are you here to see, and then that person would be buzzed and they would be greeted at the door and walked back to wherever they are meeting. So I think if that is part of this cost, I think that could be what's causing it to be a little higher, and I'm fine with that, because if it's going to make our staff safer, I mean, we did quite a bit with our police department downstairs and making sure that they are safe, and as we should have. And I think this is going to make it so that our staff up here will be safer as well. So that's, I think, why it incorporated that part that's at the top right area, because they're going to potentially make it so that maybe there would be like an office near the front.
Yeah, Alex mentioned the safety part.
So.
Oh, I agree. So yeah, as David pointed out, scope, that's 1 through 5, scope 6 is another 4,500.
Yeah.
So now you're over $20,000. So what I'd like to recommend to the council is for Alex to go back to Boomerang and ask for a 10% reduction.
Concur.
I think that's fine. We've given them lots of business. So I think, and we know the quality is there, which I think is really important. So I have no problem with that recommendation.
10% off the total.
Off the total of 21 and change.
Yep, I would agree. I'd like to see a little bit of a breakdown, maybe it's a whole micromanaging to extent, but
Right.
keep them on sometimes.
Right.
figure of speech.
Is that
Trust but verify.
all right? Can I get a motion then, and then include the detailed line item?
I do it, Tom?
Yeah, I would make the motion that the town manager go back with Boomerang and ask for a 10% reduction off the total of the two sums, approximately 21.6.
21.66.
Yeah.
Can I make an amendment to that motion? That we cover this all in one fell swoop, that if Alex can achieve that 10%, that he's also authorized to sign it.
Agreed.
Well, before we do that, don't we need to do motion one?
Well, yeah, we gotta get A done. We can kind of skip that. We need A, then B, subject to the 10% reduction. So either revise yours or amend yours.
Well, he hadn't finished it.
We're gonna exempt, and then,
Where's the resolution?
Yeah, so I'll look at the resolution.
do you wanna start over?
Pause.
Oh, there it is.
Pause.
Retract.
Okay.
All right, so may I make the resolution that the town manager, that council would consider approving the waiver resolution under the following conditions. We authorize the town manager to enter into contract with Boomerang with the understanding that Boomerang provide us a 10% discount of the $21,660 quote with a detailed breakdown. And if that condition is met, we authorize the town manager to move forward with the framing and design of renovations to do the town facility and enter into contract with them.
I'll second.
And I think that motion covered both A and B in that.
Yes.
All right?
That's good.
All right. We have a motion by Mr. Martin, second by Ms. Romani. Any further discussion? All in favor? And that's unanimous. All right. Any clarification needed there?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you, sir.
Appreciate the dialogue.
Yes, sir. All right, next up is the 2019-2020 council priorities. And for the record, for those listening and watching at home, the town of Stallings Council had their annual retreat to discuss the vision of the town on February 9th, 2019, a couple weeks ago, or a week ago. And so Alex summarized our thoughts. So thank Mr. Lehman Bryce for being the moderator. So council had a chance, let's see, what are you guys, clarify and approve priority. Okay. So Alex, do you want to go over it?
Sure. Appreciate the opportunity to kind of work with everybody at the retreat. I thought it was really productive, a lot of great dialogue, and I really appreciate all the thought and the effort that went into it. What I tried to do is certainly not to change it, just essentially try to take that next step from a facilitation standpoint and attach basically some quantifiable numeric scores to the green dots and the yellow dots, with the goal of making sure that the priorities that we have, they're a group of collective priorities, and it's not a collection of individual priorities. And so that was the goal and the purpose of the organization, to kind of facilitate discussion and just seek clarification from the council. You can see kind of the rankings. Mayor, if you don't mind, can I step down to the computer?
Sure
and just
can.
kind of walk? So if I took everything that I got 3 points, and essentially I gave 2 points for a green dot, which meant that was a number one individual top priority of a council member, and then gave 1 point to a yellow dot, which was indicated the secondary priority of an individual council member. Just basically scored it out. And you can kind of see fiscal responsibilities is a big commitment of the council. And we do a lot of really productive things, but fiscal priorities is important. You know, we got to make sure we're solvent and managing things for our citizens. And just everything broke it off at kind of 3 points. And the reason for that was, one, it came off in a nice round number, 10 priorities. Seems like a pretty solid number. You know, there's a certain capacity when it comes to priorities where if you have too many, the more you add, the less attention each one gets. That's not to say we can't walk and chew gum at the same time, because we can, but 10 seemed to turn out to be a nice, good round number. And also at the same time, 3 points was significant because it would indicate the point at which it would drop off any sort of priority that was voted on that might have just one primary vote or 2 secondary votes. Again, the goal with finding out what's the collective priority of the council and what's not a collection of individual priorities. So took a stab at just kind of categorizing everything and tried to develop some trends. You can see the first area there is fiscal responsibility. Things we've talked about, just generally operating in a fiscally responsible manner. That's not something that's SMART, it's not specific, measurable, articulable, realistic timeline down, that kind of thing. But that's okay, that's something we can do with our balanced scorecard and just really set our measures and things like that. The next one is something that we probably could measure a little bit more is secure the hotel tax and then kind of create a long-range financial plan for town operations and capital needs. That's something that we've got, I think, a good foundation, but with a little bit of work, we can have something that's really beneficial to the town. Second is plan implementation, the new UDO and the small area plans. That was, I think, the second priority, getting the most points. And then adopting and preparing to implement the Parks and Recreation Master Plan. The third area was kind of improving the transportation network. This is kind of along the lines of our priority for the current year, reducing congestion. And so that's implementing the green wall and sidewalk plan and participating in the TCC and CRTPO to gain funding. And then economic development, explore public-private partnerships. And then fifth, public engagement, the holiday parade, and then conducting a citizens academy. And so what I would probably do, let's just assume, for example purposes, that this is all good with the council. What I would probably do is go and just try to build this out. So secure a hotel tax, what would be the next step in that? Well, we want to kind of finalize that draft bill, which hopefully we're doing tonight, and you know, then set up a referendum with citizens if that's something that's going to be a requirement. Or for kind of putting on a holiday parade, the next step might be staff meeting with Mayor Dunn to kind of do an initial visioning session, that kind of thing. So just kind of trying to build some action steps out into those to kind of take the broad and kind of funnel it down into more specific and measurable actions. And attached Mr. Bryce's notes and the raw data. I think there were 26 items that received votes. So kind of attached them all there, but kind of go back. Again, there's the ranking of them point-wise, and there's the draft priorities. So just want to present that to the council and be happy to answer any questions, or hopefully it'll facilitate discussion.
Yeah. Thank you, Alex. Thanks for putting that together.
Thank you.
So I'll give an update on the hotel tax. Everybody has this document that bill that Mr. Arp designed, and we're supposed to have our comments into Alex by Friday. So I think some of the stuff I wanted to talk about tonight was the first thing is he's authorizing us up to 3%. That was the number he picked. He and I talked about 3 to 6%, so he picked that. So you know, Alex has researched this, I researched this. You know, we can go up to 6. So I would recommend to the council that we go up. You know, we asked for 5.
Is that in section 2, number 1?
Yes, that's the first place it's in. It's in a couple of other places too.
Okay.
But that's the first place it's in.
And the reason why I'm here is because I think Dalton County can do whatever's left over of the 6.
Right.
Okay.
The second part was what Alex brought up when we met with Mr. Arp, and and there, of changing the allocation of the money, going from 2/3 marketing to 1/3 marketing, and then from 1/3 implementation to 2/3 implementation. I don't know if we can go higher or another number, but
I think we were thinking we could flip those percentages.
right, we flip it. Yeah, we go to 1/3 marketing and 2/3 implementation.
I would almost go 3/4.
Yeah, we could go, we could go 3/4, I would,
25 and 75%?
yes.
All right,
Can I make a suggestion?
yes, sir.
You know, let's ask for the higher one, but one of the things I've seen them do, and I think Senator Johnson mentioned in our meeting on Friday, was the possibility of the sunset clause. Where they say, hey, this is the percentage for, let's say, 10 years or something like that. The concern I would share with you all, I'd be curious to hear what you think, is that Stallings could get a new hotel that's ready in a year and a half, or it could be 10 years until we get out of it. You know, some of those things, you never know. So what I would suggest is ask for maybe the higher percentage with the sunset clause, the higher percentage, but if they insist on adding sunset clause, say, all right, we'll take the lower percentage, the 2/3 of the capital cost, and then the 1/3 marketing, that breakdown without the sunset clause. That way it's a little bit.
But right now, the sunset clause is not in here.
Correct.
Right. So you're anticipating somebody on the floor?
So they've added the sun, in looking back at some of the other places that have had a different percentage than that, 2/3 just with marketing and 1/3 with, I say capital, but everything else. The places that they've done a different percentage flipped it, in some cases there's been a sunset clause. And when I asked Representative Martin, excuse me, about it, Senator Johnson brought up, mentioned the sunset clause, I don't know if anybody else calls.
Could you explain that, please?
So sunset clause, an example would be, so if you can have 2/3 dedicated to capital expenditures and 1/3 dedicated to marketing for 10 years. And then after 10 years, it will revert back to 2/3 to marketing and 1/3. So in the tax system, a lot of times they'll sunset clause things, so they'll say, all right, you'll get this tax break for the next 10 years, and then in 2029, that tax break's going to go away. So that'd be an example of a sunset clause. That's right.
It flips at that time period of this set. Okay.
Well, how would we put it in here? Because I don't know if you want to put that in the bill.
Yeah, I don't think, we don't want it, anything,
If you give them any ideas.
yeah,
That's a good point.
we don't. I mean, leave that up to Mr. Dean to negotiate. If somebody wants that sunset, then that will protect our interest.
Okay.
I think he understands what we're looking to do. He has a good enough rapport with several of us on council too.
So maybe just communicate with Representative Art that we don't want that sunset clause.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
And then, yeah, if you could make it official with an email, take a trail.
I will. When we get done talking here, maybe I'm jotting down the things, and we'll kind of go back and make sure everybody's on the same page.
The other one I had was in section 3, that we pointed out to be the last sentence in the first paragraph says the Board of Commissioners shall designate one member of the authority. That should read as town council of the town of Stallings shall designate one member. It was just, this was a boilerplate. Guess that was on that. And then that was all I had. So anybody else have any things that right off the bat?
Well, I have a question that I posed to Alex today, and it was in reference to the referendum. And my question was, is this what they have done with other towns? And the answer, I believe, is no. And so I'm wondering if we can ask if that's something that's required. I mean, to me, it doesn't seem legally correct if this is not what they've required in other towns, and now suddenly they're doing it. There seems to be something funny there, that now all of a sudden, oh, you have to have a referendum, but this other town did not. So I mean, if you know, I just think we need to question it, why?
Yeah, well, here's my point of view on that was, he and I have been talking about hotel tax for 3 years, and that's the first time he brought it up. And he could have given me a heads up prior to the meeting, so we could have done a little research.
Right.
And I trust Dean 100%, and it might have got thrown on him, but the way I read it was, he thought it was the best way to get it passed.
Yeah, I think it's politically,
Correct.
yeah. No, not politically correct, but more politically slanted to be a little
more powerful.
easy
Okay.
for
So,
the House.
I just-
And Todd said that Senate is not going to pass any taxes at all, so
Do the referendum makes it.
referendum puts it back to the county. I mean, and then if you read on page 1B1, the county has to approve for referendum.
so if it delays it from now till November, I'm okay with that.
Okay.
I've been talking to 3 years.
I know.
Now, second thing is, he asked us to, as David just pointed out, that section 2, 1D, where we have to ask the county commissioners to ask, they have to ask the Board of Elections to put it on the referendum. I've talked to Richard. He agreed with me, so it was a waste of time, but he said no problem. So he's asked us to send this bill when we're ready, what we need to Lynn West, their clerk, and they'll put it on their consent agenda. He's not even going to put it on their up for discussion unless it's going to be ready.
Okay.
So that's taken care of, and we're on no time crunch, but, well, no, well, I asked Dean about that. As long as we have commitment from the Union County Board of Commissioners to do that, we can get it in writing before March 12th. Dean will present it to him, so, put it in for a bill. I don't know what that process is.
So with the changes that you had pointed out before, do you feel comfortable with the rest of it?
Yes.
Okay. This has been your baby, Mayor, so
Well, yeah, it's,
I appreciate all your work you have done, because I'm sure this has been a real test of patience.
well, as I told you, I spend 100 nights a year in hotels, and I see that local tax every time.
Every time.
And I've seen the amount of money, and I told Dean, I said, Dean, we're losing around $80,000 in property tax from the hotel.
From the hospital.
Hospital.
And just for a little context, I was looking at some of the other major metro areas, the hotel occupancy tax in Mac alone is 8%, so 5% is pretty conservative. So,
All right, well, Alex, what do we need to?
So what I've heard is, we want to go on section 2, the occupancy tax go from 3% to 5%. Don't ask about the referendum. We feel like that's kind of sunk at this point. It's necessary to get it passed. And then ask them for no sunset clause. And remind me again the percentages of what it can be spent on or decided on.
75, 25.
Yep.
25% marketing and 75%, I just, capital, that's another word.
Yeah. Tourist related.
Yeah, whatever they call it.
When you say something about the sunset clause, just don't
Yeah.
mention it.
Don't mention it.
Not in this,
Not in anything in writing, not in this document.
Okay. Don't. In my email to Dean, don't even mention it to him as well.
yeah.
Okay.
Just keep
I will
it.
not.
we'll do it, yeah, we'll do it verbal.
We'll see you.
Sounds good.
Now,
Changing the Board of Commissioners on
Yep.
line 42 to Town Council.
Not Stallings,
Yeah.
Yeah, time
Yeah,
to-
that's
really specific.
makes it easier.
And what I'd like to do, what I would recommend is send it to Melanie on Friday. She hasn't had time to look at it yet. To let her take a look at it and got her in touch with Representative Ark's assistant who wrote it. And she had a couple of questions. And just see if there are any changes that she needs to make. Should be able to do that out in the next couple of days or so. And just follow up with Representative Ark with these comments by the end of the week.
Shoot it to me, Ms. West down in Union County. Give her this,
The draft bill?
give the draft bill,
Okay.
and give an explanation of what we're at, the process. I'll tell you what, let me send that email to Lynn.
Okay.
And since I had the conversation with Richard, so just tell me, when Melanie gives you the final draft back, that she's okay to send to Union County, and I'll do that.
You? Okay.
Can I just make a word of caution? The percentage, 3%, is in several places. And
Yeah.
so we want to be sure we get it corrected in all of those places to 5%.
Yeah, line 30, page 1. Says 3, and that would be 5. Line 12, page 2.
Any other spots that you can
That
say?
was on the other one I saw. See any other?
That might be all.
All righty.
Thank you.
All right, let's see, so now we'll get back to the priorities. Any questions for Alex on any of the other, of his, the draft, council priorities?
On number 5, the public engagement, I just want to ensure that we're not limiting the work we're doing there to just those 2 items, more of a culture mindset rather than that.
These are kind of the big picture priorities. These are things we want to be sure to do. But I'll give you an example. Of course, Brian's probably not going to like that. Let me tell you this, let me tell you this. We were talking about some of the goals he was setting for the Public Works Department. I thought he had a really cool thing to share with me. One of them was starting maybe some sort of adopt a storm drain program or something like that. I think one of the programs that, you know. So these are kind of big picture. These are things we want to make sure we want to get done. But at the same time, we're looking at themes here. Even though a couple of these things are specific on the things we want to do, the theme is public engagement. That's something that I think, even though there are only 2 things under there were several things that were close to that cutoff point. And clearly, this board is passionate about public engagement. So that's a theme. That's something we're going to kind of try to focus on and we'll try to emphasize as we go through the balance scorecard. I don't view these as limiting necessarily. I mean, just kind of broad strokes. Appreciate it.
Any other comments, questions for Alex?
We have a parade, Mr. Mayor, I'll come back.
I got one wrap it up comment that I like the job of what our Leland did for us. I think just a little bit more on all of our part, and Alex wouldn't have had to go through this process. We could have done it there and let him facilitate these bullet points to where we are fine-tuned it down to this is what we all agree on. So I just make a comment that's other than that, he did a great job this year. And I think it's just a minor little, one more step further, we would have wrapped this up.
Well, next year we'll make it 9 to 2, the last hour.
Well, the last hour the ball game was
We were watching the football.
Yeah, the ball game was on.
Well, I'll make sure we take a.
Yeah,
Priorities
Carolina's
after
not
all.
You got in the way.
I should never have turned the TV on.
It was lunchtime.
That TV was huge, and you couldn't miss the game.
All right, can I get a motion? What's the pleasure of the council?
I'll make a motion to adopt the town's priorities for 2019-20 as presented.
Motion by Ms. Paxton, second by Mr. Martin to accept the town council priorities as submitted. All in favor? That's unanimous. All right, thank you, Alex. All right, next up is Code of Ordinance Supplement 9. And I'll go ahead and read it. An ordinance adopting the codified Code of Ordinances Supplement 9, whereas the American Legal Publishing Corporation has completed codified version of the Supplement 9 to the Code of Ordinance of the Town of Stallings, and whereas the supplement contains all ordinances of a general and permanent nature enacted since the prior supplement to the Code of Ordinances of the Town of Stallings. And whereas the codified ordinances contain the official ordinance of the town, now therefore be it ordained by the Town Council of the Town of Stallings, North Carolina, that the codified version to supplement 9 to the Code of Ordinances of the Town of Stallings is the official version for the town. Adopted, presented this 25th day of February. Any discussion? Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Shaw, second by Mrs. Romanow to approve the supplement 9. All in favor? Raise your hand. That is unanimous. Double check who you were.
Can I make a comment on that one? And I think I mentioned this to Alex, Aaron, I don't know if you heard yet. I don't need the paper anymore.
Okay, sure.
This thing covers it all. This is the dream. You got a problem, or we have a problem or a question, the most accurate version is right there.
Correct.
On this service, and I never know, as much as I try to keep my book current, I can't guarantee it, but this I can. So this is Save the Trees, paper, or no paper.
No problem.
All right, next up is,
Just to clarify, does anybody like the hard copy? Would anybody like to continue the proceedings? Okay, thank you.
all righty, now we're down to Ms. Heisey's resignation, so we're through with the count. Looking up this. She's watching. So I'll go ahead and read it into the record. So we're reviewing the resignation of Council Member Kathy Heisey as she's moved out of the Town of Stallings. Dear Alex, Mayor Dunn, Town Council, and staff, it is with a heavy heart that I write this letter. I need to withdraw from being a member of the Stallings Town Council. It has been a great privilege to serve with you for over 3 years. Because of George's health issues and the need for additional help with him, we sold our house and are moving into a newly built in-law suite at my daughter's house in South Shore. I talked with Alex and learned that as soon as the move took place, I would need to resign. Well, that day has arrived. I really had to wait before writing this letter because we were not sure when the suite would be finished. I was hoping to serve another month or 2, but the builder surprised us and finished early. I will keep you in my thoughts and prayers. I love Stallings and am excited about all the plans that will continue after my departure. Keep up the good work. I have included a letter from someone interested in replacing my council seat in District 5. She is currently serving on the Park Committee and is willing to take on this task. She lives in District 5 and is well qualified to serve. I recommend that you consider her for my replacement. God bless each one of you with his mighty power and give you strength. I'll surely miss you. Sincerely, Kathy Heisey. Can I get a motion to accept the resignation of Ms. Heisey? So, Mrs. Motion for us. Motion by Mrs. Romanow, second by Mrs. Sherrill. All in favor?
Second.
And I guess that's the second. Now, can we discuss the process to replace her, the Rule 31? And do we need to be in closed session? I don't think so, really.
That's something
This is in your
clerk
rules
has
of
to file or
procedure.
something.
So, the thought process is, here it is, March 1, and she's up for re-election. And her District 5 is up for re-election in November. So, we go through the process of interviewing, which would probably take 2 to 3 months. So now we're into March, April, May, we're into almost May to June time period. To appoint somebody.
In the middle of the budget.
In the middle of budget.
And then they gotta file if they wanna re-run in July.
Right,
Well,
so it's, I can see both schools of thought, so
Yeah.
whatever.
our plan calls for, what they did with me. I'm one of those. Walt resigned within, I think it was 4 weeks, 5 weeks, I think it was. I was sitting sworn in on the board. So, I went through the process, submitted, there was 2, I think it requires 10 days, is it, Aaron? 10 days of advertising, email a letter of interest to Erin. She does the back checking, make sure every candidate's okay, lives in that area and all that, eligible to serve, and then they can, if they want, the candidates come in and talk to you all. I'm in favor of that method.
Me too.
I think it's time to, we've got a lot going on. I don't want to leave one person down for that length of time. I'm sure they're going to run again in November, but
Give them time to get their feedback, to see if they even want
see if they like it or not.
Well, and I think every single council member that has ever gone through the budget process the first time felt like you were overwhelmed and snowed under and didn't have a clue what was going on. So I think that'll be good exposure to her if we can get her seated, so that the next, if she decides to run again and is elected, then she would feel, or him or her, would feel better, they would feel better about going through it the second time. So I think any exposure is a good thing.
Now, what about, if you get two candidates and we're not happy with either one of them? You know, we're not, I read the rules that are going, we're not required to set up. So
Then we don't make a motion.
We're
We're not
okay with,
required.
we're okay with that?
Yeah.
Because I want to make sure, because the person that gets it is going to have a leg up on the election. So I want to make sure we get the right person,
Right.
not the right person, a well-qualified person. All right?
Well, and just to kind of present a different view, I guess, I don't agree with David, because I do think it gives a leg up on the person, even though they've never been elected by citizens. If they have served on the board, it does give them an advantage in the election. But I would hope, if we're going to proceed with filling the seat now prior to the election, that we definitely work really hard to get the word out and try to get multiple applicants to be considered, and that we do interview them carefully before we make a selection. So that would be my preference. I frankly would rather we not seat somebody. Now, anybody can come to our meetings. They could, if they're interested, they could come to all the budget discussions without having a vote on the council. But I think I would prefer to have somebody elected in the fall and not.
I don't think we have a choice in the matter. We have, on the documentation Alex sent her today, we have, was it 60 days, Alex, to fill?
Goes to the legal process.
It wasn't a precedent, but it was the legal opinion of the blog, the Carolina blog. Yeah, thanks. Those guys who know this kind of stuff, that's their opinion that it needs to be moved forward within a timely manner. So our Rule 31 pretty much covers that. I just think that that's what, if it needs a motion to go forward with it, I'll make the motion.
No, we have a consensus here that we're going to go forward with it.
The other thing I think about this situation is we have a hard enough time finding people that are willing to serve. I mean, that's been typical through all of the elections. I think if we have somebody or some bodies that are willing, I think we need to seriously consider them.
And so let's go ahead and start the process. But I think everybody would agree with Ms. Paxton that we want to just try to, I don't want the word to get out that Ms. Heisey's recommended somebody and that it's a done deal.
Right.
And then the next thing you know, you get one person.
Exactly.
So let's,
But they have to live in that district, so.
yeah.
I would like for us to be somewhat aggressive, just being that we're going into a big budget year, and the council's goals are to be more operational, less planning, to your point, Mayor. So I would like us to be aggressive and set a goal to have quality candidates for consideration by our second meeting in March, and do everything we can to get a strong candidate by that meeting.
All righty. Oh, there we go, that was 8A. All right, thank y'all.
Mayor, just so it says on here, the council shall direct the town clerk to advertise the vacancy. So is it fair to say to proceed with that?
Yes, we have a consensus.
Thank y'all.
All righty, Mr. Martin, get some ideas on tree save?
Yeah, so just real quick at a high level, one of our biggest concerns that our residents have and constituents have is that when we allow these developments to come in, that the developers will often clear cut even right up to the buffers that we allow. The old UDO didn't have very aggressive buffers. The new UDO has some buffers, but it still doesn't go far enough in some residents' opinions to save some of these legacy trees and legacy green space. So I had a brief meeting with the town manager and our town planner, and we discussed some options and some high-level plans on what we could do to potentially tweak the UDO to ask the developers kind of raise the bar towards saving more of these green spaces and legacy trees. Mary, you talked about Vickery at one point in time, how the developer came in and plowed around some of the trees versus plowing over. And I think that was kind of the consensus we came away from that, was what can we do in the UDO, what can we do in our development agreements to kind of prompt that type of mindset with these plans going forward. So what I would ask is that the council give recommendation or consideration to the town manager to ask staff to do some additional research on what we potentially can do, best practices, and bring back to the council, actually to the planning board first and foremost, for consideration to be adopted in the UDO.
I agree with that 100%. I told every developer I'm talking to Vickery, the gold standard, I'd like to see it installed. Now, if we pass it, make a change to the UDO, it's like the Epcot facility out in Black, would that affect them? Or is it new developments that come here once it's passed?
Well, they're already in the ordinance. I guess it just depends on how quickly we get that adopted. They have not submitted a plan yet.
Oh, yeah, okay. Fast track, all right.
Lynn, you mentioned the other day that we had asked them to do a tree survey out there. So if you drive by the property, you'll see trees with nice pink bows on them. So hopefully they'll take that to heart.
Well, I think everybody agreed to that. That was a great idea, so can you put it in the motion?
I would make the motion that we ask the town manager to direct staff to dedicate additional resources to researching best practice with tree saves and green space requirements in UDO for potential considerations in the future.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Martin, second by Ms. Romanow, to discuss tree save ideas. So as we discussed, so all in favor? That's unanimous. Thank y'all.
And so for our understanding, kind of some of the goals really kind of just kind of saving more legacy trees, having that more mature appearance of developments, that kind of thing. Is that a good?
And maybe even a wider buffer.
Yeah,
Wider buffer?
Maybe.
for the existing property.
Okay, great, thank you.
All righty, next up is the discussion on irrigation down on at the Monroe Expressway and Highway and Stallings Road. Ms. Paxton?
Yes, I took a look at the landscape plans for that area recently, and it just occurred to me that there were no plans for irrigation in that area. And it is to be a pretty heavily planted area, and I think we probably would like to have some seasonal flowers there, maybe a pansy bed or something in the fall and some flowers in the spring, and we won't be able to keep those alive if we don't plan for irrigation there. And DOT is not planning. I did ask, they were not planning to put irrigation there. So I thought maybe we needed to talk about this and see what it would be required. The town will be expected to maintain that area after it's done. I think Alex is looking toward possibly asking the hospital to maintain it because they'll be interested in having that entrance be a really attractive area for the town. But do you want us to look into getting irrigation there is my question to the council. And are you willing to possibly put some funds in place to get it installed before they cover that up and we have to go back in and
So are you asking
highways and stuff?
tonight to direct staff to investigate costs and feasibility first?
Yes.
Because I'm interested, but I don't know what it's going to cost.
Any other options as well?
Yeah,
Plastic.
Plastic plants?
That's terrible.
That's such a good thing.
Cemeteries have them all the time.
Hey, that is such a
Well, we're not
to YouTube.
We're on TV.
So the thing I would ask, is it even an option at this point in time, given that NCDOT has already hit a certain point of construction? I imagine they'd have to lay pipe in. Could that even, if they didn't pre-stage the infrastructure, is it even possible?
I think it is,
Okay.
yes. If I remember the response I got from Scott Cole, it is still something we could do. We have to initiate it. They're not looking to do it.
The other question I would have is, can we look at, just from a cost perspective alone, the long-term maintenance, what would take to zero-scape that area as well? Zero-scaping's gotten to be a big movement in a lot of towns and municipalities, simply because the long-term cost is much lower than it is for an irrigated system. Zero-scaping is planting native vegetation or using features that don't require the additional irrigation. For example, when you go to Las Vegas, you fly into Vegas, everything there is zero-scaped, simply because water is harder. You'll see the same in Denver and some of the little more arid places. So you can still get the aesthetics, but it's whether or not the expertise is down here and whether or not the upfront cost is appropriate. So just something to consider.
Are we thinking along where the bypass goes up, like the inside, or are you thinking along the outside of the road?
You know where they have that big wide strip now, and when you turn onto Stallings Road
Yes.
off of 74,
That we
that's
wonder-
where the landscaping is
That we
going.
wonder what they're doing with it.
Yeah. Well,
Growing mud.
I did post, and I think you all have seen the plans for the landscaping there. If you haven't, I've got it on my Paxton for Stallings website, but, I mean, there are shrubs and trees and things. It's intended to look really nice. And you know, everywhere you drive in Charlotte, you see some flowering things in the spring and,
Right.
and in the fall, and I know those require water. So, all I'm asking at this point is that we authorize the staff to investigate
Yeah.
and bring back some alternatives and
Absolutely.
cost.
All right, is that a consensus on that? All right.
Sounds good. Next step, we'll reach out to DOT and set up a meeting and talk with them about cost and what we're interested
They did have more than one person working down there today.
in. Urgent.
Impressive.
It was probably about 10, and they were moving some equipment. So I didn't send Scott a message on that, but I should have.
You should do future.
All righty, I think that brings us to the closed session. Is that
What are
right?
the groundbreaking?
Groundbreaking.
Oh, that's right. There it is. All righty. Everybody got their calendar?
How soon in August?
As soon as we want it, I think they're really, you know, at our mercy. Whenever we can make it happen, let's do it. Because, you know, we want to have the groundbreaking, we want to have a nice ceremony. But we don't want to delay it too long, because we don't want to delay the construction. So,
When are they ready for the groundbreaking?
maybe a couple days.
How about, I'm in town March 5th, Tuesday. And then I know Debbie, it's tough for you to do it.
I can get off. I have to the county, they don't penalize me for taking off for government things, so I think I can do that.
Is it something like during lunch, is a better time?
Possibly. I mean, my children go to lunch about 10 after 11, and then they go to specials, and then there's recess. So probably between the hours of, say, 11:15 till 1 o'clock.
All right.
I could probably manage that. My boss would be much happier about my
All
not
right,
taking
how
off.
about Tuesday, March 5th at 11 o'clock?
It's supposed to be snowing.
Oh, that's right, it is supposed to.
Are you
It's
serious?
okay,
Yeah,
we can handle
The
it.
gold snow
A
shovels.
little bit of
yeah.
snow, doesn't hurt anybody.
it thundered 10 days prior to March.
Aye.
It's okay.
What's
Just
there
think of the
another day?
adventure we'll have out there in
What's
the
Monday?
snow.
Monday, Monday is supposed to be cloudy. Wednesday the 6th and Thursday the 7th are both looking clear, so 50-50 it'll be.
Yeah, I'm out of town.
It'll be fun.
I can't do the 7th, it's a bank day.
I'm out of town Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
How
Although I
about,
wouldn't mind missing the afternoon.
how about the rest of this week? Do we have any availability this week?
Friday.
Uh,
I can't do Friday, I have a daughter's
Probably doing.
Yeah, I can't,
And it's
that's
this
too
way.
short notice for me.
How about, Saturday? 63 and just
Wow.
cloudy.
You don't wanna do Saturday, are they gonna come on a Saturday?
Yeah, report
We
it.
have a thing at the park on Saturday.
Oh, yeah, we do have that
I
though.
don't know if the construction folks will be here on Saturday. So,
I think we're having some equipment from them, but I don't know if they will be here.
Well, why do we need them here?
well,
Need their hard hats.
Saturday's the Stallings truck thing, those parking lots are gonna be crowded.
That's
We
actually,
have to have their hard
that
hats,
wouldn't be
that's
a
the whole
bad
point of
time,
it.
no?
However, it's not a bad way to
Do we have a
Yeah.
gold shovel?
That would actually be a good time.
Boomerang.
Saturday.
Oh,
Boomerang
I'm
has a
probably
gold-
out of town this weekend.
Boomerang has a gold shovel.
Probably have to.
Did you say you can make Saturday?
No, let's go with the
Sure.
snow day.
Yeah, I can do Saturday.
I cannot. I'm
This Saturday?
99% sure I'm out of town.
Well, that's, going back to that snow day, everybody could make that?
Yes.
That's okay.
No.
That's-
I can
I've
do
got a
Saturday.
commitment at 11:30 that day.
We'll be
Well, how about
quick.
one?
Well, I think it'll be long, it'll be a long,
All right, about 10.
plus I'm out.
How about 10?
In another town.
I can make it work.
How about 10 o'clock?
How about 10
10
o'clock?
o'clock I could do.
10 o'clock on the 5th,
Monday the 5th.
Tuesday.
Tuesday the 5th.
Tuesday the 5th. All right, you better write that down.
Monday,
Tuesday,
put that in my calendar, please.
March 5th, 10 a.m.
Okay.
And if it's snowing, just wear your boots.
Bring some salt.
I don't anticipate it terribly long.
No.
Mayor, would you mind saying a couple choice words?
Oh, sure.
Audience appropriate?
Yeah.
That we can put online.
All righty. Can I get a motion to go into closed session pursuant to 143-318.11, subsection A5 and A6?
Mayor, couple things to add. Let me give you the parcel number, and if you don't mind, let's also, in that motion, invite Ms. Holden to join us in the closed session for A5. And let me give you the parcel number.
All right. I need to read this to the record.
Yeah, just when you make the motion, just include that parcel number.
Okay. And, so I've read into the record the closed session, the statutes, and also A5 is pursuant to parcel number 07126010. That on me?
And also to invite Ms. Holden.
Oh, and we
to join us.
also would like to invite Ms. Lisa Holden to the closed session.
Thank you.
All right. Moved by Ms. Tackett, second by Mr. Martin, all in favor?
Thanks.
Unanimous.
Oh, do we, do we want us to, and Tasha, I'll sit outside in the lobby.
Moving or staying?
Well,